sheds. Welcome back to podcast number 5, going on like 7 or 8. So I think we got it figured out now. Don't we?
I don't know. Maybe. Hopefully.
So we have 2 guests, as you guys can see. We'll just let them introduce themselves and maybe talk a little bit about yourselves and where you're from and that kind of jazz. Tim, you want to start?
Looking at me. Tim Huff. I'm from Des Moines, Iowa.
From Des Moines.
From Des Moines. Now live in Nevada.
Were you born here?
Yeah, born here. Lived here my entire life.
Born and raised.
Moved away for a year to play football in grad school. That was it.
Okay. Yeah. Where'd you go to college?
I went to Grandview.
Okay.
Played baseball there for 4 years, and then went to grad school in Minnesota.
Nice. And what do you do for work?
I'm a firefighter.
Nice. Nick?
3 inches, right?
Yeah, 3 inches. Get close.
Nick Comas. I'm originally from Grimes. I live here in Earlham now, just south of where we're at now, and born and raised in Iowa. I'm an Iowa boy. Probably always will be.
These guys are both bona fide deer hunters. We got to thank you, Nick, for letting us borrow all your implements for our tractor. At least I'm using them. Jesse hasn't used them yet, but soon. I found a trailer on Marketplace. I'm trying to get the guy down to about $3,000, so maybe we can drive the tractor around the trailer. Last time Nick came and picked it up when I went and did the last plot, so I didn't have to road it over there, which is like 109 feel-like degrees, so it was really nice. We got the blind off the trailer then, and it was hot that day. So
I like to help. I like to help out whenever I can. I know it's hard to do all that stuff by yourself, And
yeah, I appreciate it. So are you signing up for when I put that tower together?
Absolutely, yeah. Let's do it.
Between maybe us 4, we could just lift the blind up on it, or just let Tim do it.
Yeah. I don't know. You're gonna have to figure something out. Bigger tractor.
I think we're just gonna do the 5-foot tower. Not gonna do the 10.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. Our tractors would.
Can get like what 5? What was it?
6? Yeah, maybe 6
you could
foot.
do it. I mean, you just need to get it up there, and you can. Like we did it with my uncle's tractor on that 5-foot tower with forks, and it.
Oh, the 5-foot would be no problem.
No problem.
Right.
Yeah, it went.
The
right
10-foot.
I'm gonna have to get a hold of somebody.
See if my brother-in-law can bring his tractor down, but you got a big tractor. Just a nice little drive for you.
Yeah. Put it on the trailer. We'll be good.
There you go.
Grand River's a long way to go to.
We can get a skid loader over here too.
There we go. Did you buy one yet?
No, that's someday.
That's great.
I keep on looking for them on
skid
Marketplace
loaders
and stuff. Yeah, like watching like Lakoski stuff with all the bale attachments.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no reason to ever have a tractor unless you're planting row crop. Yeah. There's no reason to have a tractor.
Yeah,
you never stop looking for them.
Right.
You can do a lot with the tractor though.
You make your money back with the skid loader.
Oh yeah.
True.
Yeah, like way.
But you need a bigger truck, or a little F-150, 1500, little 4-cylinder.
My neighbor's got a concrete.
They sell
business.
more transmissions.
That's right. Yeah.
that pickup mine's got like 440 foot-pounds of torque. It's just fine to pull a skid loader.
Okay. Yeah. What's the capacity on it? The skid loader is pretty heavy. Let's get a smaller one.
It's GMC, it's fine.
Touche. So we're going to start out by talking about white pine rub posts. We got the king himself here today, and he's got videos up the yin yang on these white pine rubs. And we started doing them because of you. And we've had not as great success, but we've had some. And maybe Jesse can throw some videos up of Tim's setups and as we kind of talk about it. And
Yeah. I mean, what was it, 3-4 years ago that
we started?
We really started trying to do it. And the first year I did it, it was crazy. Like,
deer hit it.
Super success with it. Yeah. And then the last couple of years, I don't even think I put one out last year because by the time I got them, I got some from you. I think it was, I don't know, no rain. I was not in the mood, and food plots didn't do any good. Yeah. I just was like, you know what? That's one more thing I don't want to have to deal with. So,
yeah. So do you want to talk about like time frame? Because if you cut them now, it's a little too early. The velvet's shrinking. What is it?
It's the
9th
today. This will air in a week and a half.
Okay, so maybe when it's time, are we going to be close to needing to get those out for the velvet?
We'll still be a little early, I think.
Okay.
For a long time, when I first started doing it, so I started first started using white pine posts back in 2004. Started hunting in 2003, 2004. I started experimenting with things, because I would put a camera up, and you'd see like camera pictures on the back of a trail camera, and it would show them like rubbing something or doing a scrape. And so I put one up on a tree that I thought would be a good rub tree because of the right diameter and everything, and the deer would never touch it. They'd just walk by. So then I'd start scraping that tree, and I was killing a good live tree, and I knew that was wrong,
Right.
And they still wouldn't hit it. So I started thinking, okay, well, think like a deer. What would they like to rub? Because a lot of times you see these deer and they've got cedar just packed in.
Yep. I killed one like that. Yep.
Yeah, me
And
too.
it's awesome when you do. And so I tried cedar trees, and no luck at all. They come up and they might sniff it or they walk by because it's the cedar smell, but those cedar trees dry out really fast. And it is hard to trim up a cedar tree. What's up, buddy?
Ow!
Man.
Oh,
Hey,
road rage, Jace.
You want to sit with us while we're talking?
All right. So
That's a good one.
So just using a cedar post is tough because they have so many little branches.
yeah,
and
you can't get
coming
that
out.
smooth.
Yeah, it's hard to get it smooth. And so sounds silly, but I just remember to Christmas when we chose a white pine. And, all the ornaments would fall off, and it was really easy to break the twigs. And I remember how soft it was. I'm like, I've seen deer where they won't rub super hard trees, but soft trees like a basswood, something like that, they just shred them. Willows, they'll shred. And so I said, let's try a white pine. And our neighbor's farm had just a ton of white pines there. And he liked to thin them out to where you could walk underneath them. And so he let me go in there and just start cutting
Cutting the limbs, limbing them up.
7 foot and below. And just cut those up, and I put one out there. The first year I did, it probably wasn't until mid-October that I put it out there, and I made a mistake. I basically shaved it down with a draw knife to where it was there was no bark left on there.
Yep.
And I got action on it the first week. And
The
then
bark holds the moisture, right?
Yep. And I got action that first week, and then it just went dead. They stopped hitting it. So, I mean, this is a couple-year-long process trying to figure this out.
So when it's dead, they don't like rubbing it?
They will, but not as much. When it
It's
dries,
really hard when it's dead.
when it dries out,
Yeah.
it kind of loses its luster. So the timing of when you put it in there, and also how you present it to the deer, sounds silly.
So that's your point behind don't put it out too early.
Right.
Oh, okay.
I think a couple years in a row, I put it out around September. I can't remember, September 26th, because I'd put my trail camera up, and you'd see me in there putting it in the ground every year on the same date. But then I think even that September date was still a little too early.
Really?
So, yeah, I moved it to, I think, really right around the end of the first week of October. And I learned that you can't just put it in there and rough it up right away. It's kind of, it usually don't find a deer that's just going to walk in there and shred that tree to where it's like a toothpick on that first day. It's a process.
Kind of sniff it out, see
You
what
kinda
it's all
sniff it out.
about.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I'd put that white pine in there, and when I left it, it still hasn't, the concrete hasn't hardened, right? So it's not.
So you concrete yours in.
I
that's what I was gonna say.
concrete mine in.
Okay.
And I don't use that much concrete because it's easy to pull out. If I would say I use 2 liters of water, and then probably there's no science behind how much concrete I put
Like a
in.
milk jug?
Yeah, maybe. If
Right,
you cut the
but-
top off a milk jug and fill that with concrete, yeah.
Okay.
But I mix it with the dirt too, so it's all mixed in, and I pack it.
Right.
As I'm going, I'll do like 4 inches, pack it.
Yep.
Another 4 inches.
Yeah,
pack
like
it.
you're putting in a post.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like you're putting on a post, and I go between 16 inches and 20 inches deep.
Right.
So yeah, when you first put it in there, it's still fresh, smooth bark. There's some white pines that you see like a lot of rough bark on. I don't use those. I like to use the smooth bark ones.
Okay.
But so you get it in there, and I usually let it sit and settle so that concrete's hard before I rough it up at all. So I'll go in a couple days later with my bone saw, and I'll just make a couple swipes, and that's it. And just kind of let the scent get out there, let the deer explore it. And then every time I go to either check my trail camera or to go to a tree stand or something like that, I'll make another swipe. You'd be amazed, 10 days of hunting the stand or checking your trail camera, it starts to whittle it down good. Not as good as the deer do, though.
Yeah, I think looking back on these white pines, I think I put them out way too early because, the deer's velvet right now is shrinking. We're getting excited. Deer season's coming. We have time. All our cameras are almost out. Food plots are done. What can I do to help me out and help get pictures of those deer, get them in the food plot, hitting these rubs? And I think I personally have been putting them out too early. So
I think one thing I probably failed to mention, maybe in, kind of telling you guys how I do it in the process and everything, I like to get a scrape established before I put that post out.
Okay.
'Cause once you get that scrape out there and the deer are coming to the scrape, they're coming to the area. I no biologist, but I think a deer will come to an area specifically because they know there's a scrape they can check versus they know there's a tree that they can rub. I think the rubbing the tree is a matter of convenience or aggression versus, the scrapes they're communicating to.
It's a secondary thing.
Right.
Like they're wanting to do the scrape, and then they see the post, and they're like, hey, I'm going to rub my scent all over that also.
Yeah. I've had it be either a deer coming in to a scrape area and they see that rub and they just shred it first and then they hit the scrape and they go. I've had them come in, hit the scrape, and then they go. Most of the time, if they hit the scrape first, they go and they just sniff the rub. They might rub it a little bit, but they don't usually hit the scrape hard and then hit the rub hard.
Yeah.
They will hit the rub hard and then hit the scrape, but it's not vice versa. I don't know why.
Really?
That's just my experience.
And a lot of our setups are, mainly on those field edges where you're close to a plot or close to an ag field or clover. It's that transition areas where it's kind of a hot spot, right? Like you have one pine rub post in the middle of your plot.
I do in one plot. It's more of it's a food plot. It used to be a staging area, and I knew that where they bedded was far enough away from them coming out to the ag field that I could turn that into a food plot. But I also wanted it to be something where when they're grazing in that food plot, they're going to stay close enough to bow and arrow
range. Yep. Yeah. So there's a couple of scenarios for, trying to get them to come out, hit a scrape, hit the rub, be in front of you, spend some time. Also for getting trail camera pictures on those cell cams and get that MRI.
So when you go and rough that white pine up, you grab it with the other hand or you try to keep your scent off
but I
of
always
it?
have my gloves on.
Okay.
Not that my glove doesn't hold my scent in, but it's less than if you got sweaty palms and all that other stuff. And I'll make it high enough that the top of that post is usually at least as tall as me, if not a little bit taller. And I like to hold it on the top.
Nice.
So I can not rub my hand all over there. I just hold it on the top and then I do my swiping.
So do you like a stemmed tree branch opposed?
Sometimes.
So
I've used both. I've used just straight. When I find a branch that I'm going to use as a post.
So it's like DBH is about 8-9 inches.
Maybe. I mean, I've never cut any. It's hard to find a real thick one. Because if you find a thick one, you're cutting an old, mature branch off, and I don't like doing that.
No,
I like cutting my guess is probably a 4-year branch that hasn't really gotten big, but it's also in the way of the farmer or your head while you're walking under your trees, something like that. Or you want to get that branch off the field edge from the ag crops.
You're not just going to cut any branch down. You're trying to find one you're trying to limb up, but it's also it's ideal for you.
We're actually coming up on the anniversary, I think tomorrow, of derecho. It will be 2 years.
I think it's today.
I thought it was the 10th. I don't know.
Okay, maybe
it's the 10th. Yeah.
It's the 10th.
It's
tomorrow.
Okay, so it's tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that was
3 years ago.
A crazy year because, especially in my area in Nevada, like derecho wiped out a ton of white pines, a ton of spruces too.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking
every tree.
60, 70-year-old white pines and 100-year-old spruces that were, 100 feet tall. It was just sad. Right. But I was able to give a lot out. I gave some to Jesse. I think I gave some to you.
Yeah, I got a trailer
friends.
full. Yeah.
And so now I got people asking me for these. Hey, you got some more white pine for me? I'm like, I might be able to find you a branch, but I can't. Derecho spoiled us.
Yeah.
So.
And if you want some, when you go get your blind behind my in-laws, father-in-law's got a white pine that he's going to trim up. So if you want to go do him a favor, just be careful. There's some poison ivy in there.
Right. Yeah.
That way you haven't gone in there?
Yeah, that's why I haven't went in there. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that. But yeah, we've obviously been putting them out too early.
Right.
Which
And I think the one thing I showed these guys pictures before we started, was kind of your scenario with the white pine, but also they took like a drill and put some oak branches, because the oaks hold their leaves. So they're in the, on the edge of a plot, but they're making that scrape plus that rub all into one. And I've seen a lot of guys using like 4x4s with like putting a rope out there, putting it on I think if you do that, it's more natural. I think maybe it'll work. It'll be interesting.
I don't see why it wouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a white pine, then you got an oak, but it still should work.
Yeah.
A lot of times you ask me about the branches. If I do have a branch that's, 2 foot or whatever hanging off that, I'll leave it. So if it comes up and over, I have pictures of deer hitting that like a scrape.
That's cool.
So
find the right one with a runner off of it and just leave that cluster of needles or whatever at the end. And if it gets broken off, it gets broken off, whatever.
Nick, are you thinking of spots where you can put the setup?
Just bing, bing, bing going off in my head right now.
I can already see with that picture you sent last night when you're out glassing. You said there was 700 yards. I'm like, that would be a perfect spot, the end of that field. And I've never been there. From the top, I'm like, right in front of your
bean field, but might have to wait till the beans.
You wait till the beans come out.
Or on the edge of it.
Right on the edge, yeah. Yep.
It'd be a great spot.
Or in your clover plot where we turkey hunted.
Yep.
And
to be honest, though, I think I was a little overconfident with the white pines, because you guys said that it doesn't always work for you. It just happened to work always for me.
Yep.
It doesn't mean that
it works for everybody.
It's a big guarantee. Deer are different in different areas.
Yep.
I've had some deer, some crazy old mature deer that will walk to that thing every single time. Then I've got other deer that they'll walk by it and they won't even give it a sniff.
Yeah.
But they usually come into the area, and I don't know if that's because of the scrape or if it's because of the rub.
Yeah.
I think a location's a big
for sure.
big deal. Like if you just put it somewhere where deer aren't going to be, I don't think they're going to go to it.
Right.
On purpose.
On purpose.
Yeah.
Like there's no
if
reason.
it's a transition area and they're coming through, or it's it's kind of hey, someone else is rubbing on that. I'm gonna put my glands on it, or the scrape's right there. This is my area. I'm the dominant buck, and I've seen that time after time again with you sending those pictures like you do in the videos of those deer coming on that trail. And you have some setups that are interior, right? Like on the edge of trails.
Most of them are actually.
Most of them.
Most of them are. Honestly, they're probably within 20 to 40 yards before they hit the field edge. It's one of those main trails that they come on. I think early on I got busted a lot because I'd get skylined hunting field edges all the time. So I was talking to a buddy, and he said, you need to be in at least 20 yards. You can hunt a field edge 20 yards if you've got a good shot to the edge of the field, but then you're not going to be skylined if you're not on one of those edge trees. And so I started hunting 20 to 40 yards in from the field line, and that's where I end up putting a lot of my scrapes and the rubs, because they come through and they'd feel comfortable. And they feel comfortable hitting a scrape right inside the field edge rather than exposed out there.
And it's a staging area. They'll hold up right there, even if it's only 90 seconds, just to survey. Like they'll sit there.
It feels safe. Yeah.
They'll sit there and look like, well, I'm back in here.
I'm gonna hang out here, hit this scrape, hit this rub, and so you're putting your stands in a good spot, and then you're making them even better with those pine rub posts.
And I've been guilty of that too a lot, And I just got done reading an article by Bill Winke out of Bowhunter Magazine about you want to put your tree stands in a spot where you can see a lot of deer, but that doesn't mean you're getting your chances any better for killing a deer.
Yep.
You almost want to do the opposite. See less deer, but get them in bow range. You know, like you said, you need to be 30 yards back in the timber, not on the edge where you can see the whole, 1,000 yards in every direction. That doesn't not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah, I like to be honestly on my setups behind where the deer come in. Most of the time I'm hunting by myself. I'm a lefty, so I set them up for being a lefty. But I like to be able to have the tree here and the deer coming this way, so I'm here or here. And I have enough room to do that to keep the tree in between me and them. Not all setups, but a lot of them. So,
yeah, I've set up one already this year just like that, because it's like, this is a perfect spot. But if I hang it on the front side, I might as well just put a blinking sign on my head.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's awkward. I'm a bigger guy. I hunt out of a lot of like 2-person ladder stands, and that originated from taking my kids with me, getting in the sand. but it's always weird when you're in a ladder stand or any stand and you're facing right at the deer because you're asking to get picked
They're
off.
falling those sticks or the stand right up to you.
Yeah, I like to have mine so I'm shooting off this way. Yours is the other way. If I can find a tree, even if it's 15 to 20 feet up and it's crooked, but that spot right there is straight, and you have branches going off.
Yeah, that's nice.
When you have branches that come off, then it's not as bad facing straight onto a deer because it helps break.
Right. And you get some guys that, pull up a cedar tree and kind of zip tie it to the tree or whatever, ratchet strap, so you got some more background and more density up in the tree. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've done that. I had one.
The wooden platform. The wooden.
Oh, the wooden platform.
I shot
but
that.
I had the I call it the Eagle's Nest. It's right by where my soft side is now. It was a hang on, but it was up the crook of a tree, and you had where it was set up. You had a branch that came straight out in front of you, and I don't even know what kind it was, but it always had. You would cut the branches, then they'd always have really thin branches that would come up every year. Well, I would let them come up, and when I'd sit down, I'd clip them at like chest height and just lay them over each other. So you would it was like a nest. It looked like you were in a nest and you stood up and you could shoot everything you wanted to, but your legs were covered up, and if you're sitting there, if you're a deer at 10 yards looking up, it's your head. That's it.
Perfect.
So if you're not moving, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, and as far as tree stand setups, probably my coolest one that I remember when I was hunting newt, I had a cedar tree it was a multi-stem. One went up and one went towards the tree, and then it went straight up. So I put my stand right on that, and I had deer come in, and that cedar scent helped mask my odor. And I had a couple cameras on the ground facing up, and you could see me when I was in the heater bodysuit. You could just see a blob. You couldn't even, just because all that cedar stayed green all year. So those are kind of nice as far as conifers go with white pines. You get scent and cedar setups.
Big mature cedar trees
it's tough.
It's tough.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And they suck to cut.
They do.
Well, and you can over trim cedars very easy too,
And then you
you're
can't go back.
exposed. Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. I did get some of these twist on. I was telling you about those. The twist on like synthetic leaves. Have you seen those?
Oh yeah.
From
yeah.
Novix.
Yep.
I ordered a couple boxes of those just to
Help. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have never tried it
up.
before. I'm like, that is a great idea. You can take them off or you can leave them on.
Put them on, let it rain on it a bunch, and
Right.
whatever scent there
Yep.
could be on them.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, having no movement's almost as bad as having too much movement. Like if you're just sitting up there and everything's cut out and everything's moving, leaves are moving, then there's a spot that's just dead. I think the deer like that does not look natural. What is that?
Yeah.
So if you have a little bit of stuff, and I'm an habitual trimmer. Like I trim lanes, like I want to shoot here and here and here and here and here. So you know what? I'm just gonna
Cut it all.
clean it out.
I'm the opposite. I want the field edge set up with one trail behind me, and I'm gonna hunt it on a wind where I'm gonna try to crosswind them. But then I got this whole opening, but yet I'm in an oak tree where I can trim, I can shoot out the entire field pretty much. So it's all about setup. Every setup's a little different, and
I've killed deer out of cedar trees, big oak trees, everything. I think I've probably killed the most deer out of willow trees.
really,
And it's tough to find good willow trees. Usually it's going to be a wet area, obviously.
on the river bottom.
And then it gets dangerous, too, because willows rot, and willows like to uproot
Yeah.
and fall over.
Yep.
But like you said, the movement thing, when you have big willow branches, you don't necessarily need to trim those off.
Yep.
Because they're just kind of hanging in front of you.
And they're dancing in the wind. Yep.
And it helps disguise your movement, too.
Yep. It's kind of like a cottonwood tree. As those leaves dance, it's kind of magical. But
Cottonwood trees make me think of the old Primos videos, how they'd always go to the Milk River.
Milk River.
Yeah. Love it.
I got a giant cottonwood on that Grinnell farm way out in the back. I mean, that thing's bigger around than this table, and we have a ladder stand in it. And I haven't hunted it in like 4 years, but it's out there.
Well, guys, I think we'll take a break. That was kind of fun talking about white pine rubs. I'm excited. So date again. When to put them out?
I would
when
probably
would you
say? I mean, when do you usually start seeing the first large amount of rubs?
Okay.
Right? You see some of the small saplings that are shredded up right when they're dropping their
velvet?
right?
Yep.
That's not the purpose of the rub for me.
Yep.
Because most of the time when they're dropping velvet, they'd rather go to something that's bushier than an actual tree to get all that velvet off, right?
Yep.
Because it's going to grab it and pull it off. So I usually like waiting until it used to be the end of September. Now it's like probably the 10th-ish
Okay.
of October.
October.
Or maybe
First week or two of
7th. Yeah. I wouldn't wait until like October 20th. It's not going to hurt you to wait that long. But then again, you're starting to get into more movement of those bigger, older, mature deer. So you don't want that scent of the concrete that you put in there. You're going to sweat. When you're in there with a post hole digger and you're digging that out, you're going to sweat. You're going to stink it up. So I also like to choose either really wet days or really windy days. And you have to have a plan of what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. The wet days, you really want to plan digging that hole around a rainfall.
Yep.
There's nothing worse than going in with a post hole digger in rock hard ground.
Right. I did that a couple of years ago. Then I used the electric auger last year. Made my life a breeze. So nice. And that was like probably the only white pine rub post that I've had work, and it was a spot that I couldn't hunt right back here. But I watched a 10-pointer hit it numerous times. I didn't concrete it in, and he would just push it around. I had to put it back multiple times, so that was that issue. But
they'll do it.
If it bores it out, and then it starts getting this move.
And then so they can move it, and
Then at some point, though, if it moves too much, they can snap it easier.
Yep.
Yeah, get some.
Yep. And how many have you had snap with the concrete?
One.
Just one?
And it was because it was too thin.
Oh.
It was a little tiny deer that broke it, too. I had a big mature buck come in and rub it and whatever. Then this little buck comes in thinking that he's a
I
big
think
boy.
I remember a video that you might have shared of that.
You saw one picture.
Yeah.
The tree's there, and the next picture it's busted off the ground.
He's looking at it like,
This little deer broke that thing.
Yeah, that's great.
But I guess the one place, this is kind of ironic, the one place where I have the worst luck and rarely get deer rubbing those white pines is in the White Pine Grove, where that food plot is, where I get them from.
Makes sense.
They're used
to it, yeah.
The best places are where they're not used to that.
Something new.
It's something new, and it's not bad. The smell, it's enticing. They're like, oh, yeah, this rubs nice and easy.
Yeah, I like when you first rub it with your saw. It's just all that moisture that's in there and that sap. It's just, you can almost like just peel it all the way off. But
I've had deer peel it. Like they start rubbing it, and if it's hanging, they just start chewing on it, and they'll pull it off.
Pull it off.
Post.
Yeah.
I can't wait to put one in the ground.
There we go. Yeah,
Right now.
You heard it.
Go practice.
Yeah, you can practice now, but wait. Yeah. So I'll probably still jump the gun because, like I said, I get pretty antsy about these things. So I'll try to wait.
Well, if you're seeing deer that are coming in, if you've got your camera on a scrape in an area, and in your head you're planning on putting that in there, and you've got deer that are coming to that scrape often, and you think you can sneak in there and get it in the ground early, and it's October 1st or whatever, go in there and do it.
Yeah, I got a couple spots that I could sneak in, the in-laws.
A couple spots like for youth season. It'd make me want to do it.
Yeah.
Just a couple different areas.
Spots that there's a lot of activity and the deer don't care. They're used to it. They're conditioned with. So
makes sense.
Very cool.
All right, let's take a break and then we'll talk about maybe some deer that you guys are hunting this year, if you want to share. And the turkey that Jesse is going to hunt this year.
Every deer that I have on camera.
And the turkey. Number one hit lister. We're not telling people that?
On the DL.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. And we are back from our short break and checking our trail cameras. The Stealth Cam Command app is blowing up right now. It's 6 o'clock and the deer are starting to roll in. So we had a little front come through, rained on the plot. So hopefully those are growing, those brassicas I planted. But yeah, we're back. We're going to talk about the hit lists of 3 of us and then Jesse with his he's got a special hit list, which is probably the most impressive animal out of them all. So
I'll drop the picture at the end of the podcast.
Okay. Rather large. Stay tuned.
It is comparative to everybody else's. There's a lot of big deer out there, but it's Iowa. Everyone's got big pictures of deer. Has anybody seen what I showed? No. Nobody has. So
Never.
It's basically like a 400-inch deer.
Basically. It's a unicorn.
It is.
Unicorn. All right, so I know last night you were out, Nick, scouting deer. Last couple nights, you've seen a few big ones on your piece.
Yep, just kind of checking out the beans, and seems like they can't get enough of those right now. I mean, and what I noticed out there is the bugs are really getting to the deer right now.
Really?
They were just
flapping their heads and they're
constantly.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, I had one of the bigger deer on the properties I just bought. I've only got pictures of him just running. I think he's running from flies, which I should have put out some more fly traps. But yeah, but so as far as hitless goes, you're looking for one deer, or you got multiple, or what's it looking like?
Well, I'm looking for one, but I am two of them are on the hit list because I'm pretty sure the one I was hunting last year, I did the whole hunt one deer thing, and kind of sucks, but it's tough. But he's worth it. But I don't usually get pictures of him until about November, so it's kind of a mystery. I'm about 90% sure he's still around. I probably would have heard about it if somebody was harvested him, but I haven't found any of his sheds, so I don't have any of that stuff, and I haven't over the years. I think he's living in a different property, and it's just kind of sucks that way. But he comes around my place a lot through the whole month of November.
And he sticks around late season too, or is he?
I don't
booger out.
No, he's just kind of using the channel through the middle of my timber to the river, and just that's what I'm seeing, anyways.
You got a game plan set up, like stands hung for him, cameras waiting on him.
Yeah, and last year I went pretty aggressive, and the place where I'm hunting is a pretty big, deep valley, and the wind sucks down there.
Yeah.
So, and I tried to get right down the middle of it. Didn't work out that great. I didn't bust him as far as I know, but getting down in there and getting your wind right, I don't think I'm going to fool him. So I think I need to stay on the edges, and that's going to be my best chance. And I might not see him as often, but I don't think I'm going to kill him in that no wind, you don't know where the wind's going zone.
Right,
I think he's going to outsmart me.
Yeah.
I think he has been outsmarting me. So
Or you might be tagged out by then.
Maybe, because I have another one that
yeah, he's large. Yeah, he's a good deer. Good deer for sure. So that's interesting. Your food plot's looking good?
Yep. And I've kind of just stuck with the clover. I'm a big clover guy. I got several acres in established clover, and I just keep adding to it. And
nice.
In the construction world, I haven't had much time to put in, my fall plot like I wanted to. So I'm just going to mow that stuff off and keep the clover looking good, fertilize it, and go from there.
Love it. Yeah.
Do you overseed your clover every year?
Every year.
See, I have too. At some point, how long is your longest established plot?
Right now?
Yeah. Do you have one that's been there 10 years?
This one's probably going on 7.
Have you ever had to turn it over? Or have you ever turned it over?
Or slightly disc it?
Did once, and I planted turnips in it for 1 year. And then those turnips, I was talking with Greg, they got that perfect size, like a tennis ball.
Yeah.
And the deer cultivated it for me, basically.
Okay.
Those things come up out of the ground, busted the dirt.
Yep.
They pulled them out. And then I just went in the next year, harrowed it a little bit, spread some clover, and it's been clover ever since.
Do you frost eat a lot?
Every year.
Every year.
Yep.
I think I need to do something. I have 2 plots that have been there 7, 8, 9 years, and there's a ton of clover in there, but there's a ton of other stuff in there too that kind of, no matter how much you mow it, it kind of sneaks in, and how much you spray it, it's the water grasses and stuff that's almost impossible to kill. And
and it's not bad to have that stuff in there.
It's the aesthetics.
Yep. Yeah, as a hunter,
you
you just want straight clover, and you want to be able to see it and make it look pretty.
It bugs me so
it's like
bad.
You're
plot.
You want your plot looking almost better than your yard.
Oh yeah, I have more clover in my yard from washing it out of the back of my truck, and my wife hates it. And she was out there pulling it by hand the other day.
Yeah, I got brassicas. As you guys walked in, there's brassicas all over the rocks, and in my deck, if you look on the deck and between the boards, they're growing. It's pretty interesting. But so that'll be fun to follow you along this year. Hopefully you shoot that deer or the November deer that shows up.
Yeah,
one of the two. I'll be just call me. I'll come help you out.
Yeah, like I told Greg earlier, I decided to dust off my camera equipment from.
I love it.
Short 10 years ago, and just, you know what? If we're going to go after these bucks, we might as well see if I can get them on camera.
Yep.
Look at what I got to lose,
Yep. Tell a story and document it, and if you want, Jesse can edit it. He's really good at that.
You're going to have to edit a lot of my stuff. A lot of editing involved.
Yeah, it's nice. You got some setups with the muddies too. What do you got? 2 or 3 muddies? Or you got
3
muddies?
Yep.
So you can go through the tripod up and hang out, and it's almost like it's cheating. It's so comfortable in there. And
Yeah.
he's got one on a wagon, which he took Jace out turkey hunting in. That's a pretty cool setup over Clover.
Yeah. It's nice to have one that's mobile. You know, I've kind of bolted myself down to a couple stands, and now I want to move them a little bit.
Yeah.
And it makes it real hard. So having a mobile one's pretty handy.
Nice. Tim, hit list. You have an urban tag, right?
Urban tag. I've got a landowner's tag this year.
Oh boy.
I also have 2 girls that are going to want to fill
Okay.
tags. So
How old are they?
they're going to be 15 and 13
Oh, wow.
in deer season.
First time out for them? They've gone
Not
with you before, right?
Olivia shot a big one before.
Okay.
And she got a little jaded by that, and she only went out once last year because, of course, she has to outdo herself, but she's come to a realization that it's going to be tough to see a deer bigger than that. The other one is more competitive, and she
Okay.
wants to outdo sister both sides of deer, but she also wants to shoot one with her bow.
So there's a competition there. Is there a competition with your girls?
No, they're at that.
They just
point,
want
they
to.
don't care.
Yeah,
Like they go because I like.
that's
they go.
nice.
Like we went turkey hunting this year. They both went one time. No luck. They're like, I'm not getting up at 3:00 anymore. Like
I'm the same way though.
Deer
For
shoulder
turkeys, man. Come on, like
deer season's a little different. Like,
Yeah.
we can go after school. You know, youth season. It's before the time changes, so it's not like they get out of school, get home by 3:30, 4:00. We can drive down to the farm and be set up in plenty of time from the deer starting to move. So, and that's just where I got 2 or 3 blinds all set up over food. Basically, I'm going to try to spoon feed you as good as I can.
yeah, here's shoot whatever makes you happy.
Yeah, whatever makes you happy. I mean, they've both killed good deer in the past. Sophie killed a really nice buck last year, like 145, 146 inch 10-pointer.
Nice.
With the 350 Legend, and then Charlotte hasn't killed a deer in a couple years. Her first hunt ever, she shot
the big one.
She shot like 100 and it's like mid to upper 30s, but it was like a 5.5-year-old deer too. Just
Nice.
We were trying to just, hey, let's just shoot. She wanted to shoot a buck. She didn't want to shoot a mommy deer, and I'm like, that's fine. We'll shoot a buck. You know, anything that comes out. And there had been like a 115 on cell camera every night for like a month. Came out of the same trail.
Just down the road, right? On your wagon blind?
No, that was at my uncle's.
Oh, at your uncle's.
Yeah,
Okay.
every night. Every single night that deer's coming out. I'm like, okay, you know, it'll be out here in like 13 minutes, you know.
Just wait.
And we're sitting there and there's some does and there's a spike. I'm like, you know, we still have 2 hours. Like, let's wait for this deer to come out. And I look out of the corner and here comes a couple does. And I look a little bit farther and here's just this cow of a body. And I'm like, oh God.
That's
like,
a big one.
We're shooting this deer and he walks out 50 yards broadside and
Throwing rocks at the door.
50 yards broadside. She shoots him with a muzzleloader. He goes 40 yards, fell over dead.
Yeah.
It's
That's
awesome.
good. That's a cool video too.
It's awesome.
So you have Tim, you have statewide, urban, 2 girls tags. Well, you have 2 statewide. So you have your hands full. And then you got to shoot your does to potentially get a buck tag for the next year.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
That's if I do it.
If you do it.
Sure,
Yeah.
It'll be this year. It'll be different. You know, living on the farm. You know, it was easier living in town and getting off work and
Doing the urban thing.
knowing that I didn't have enough time to go take my girls all the way back up to the farm,
Yep.
get set up for youth season. So I'd come home and I would pound that urban stuff hard early in the season, so I could get all my does out of the way before the rut.
Which is September
16th.
middle
Same time. It starts the same time as youth
every
season.
year. Okay.
Every year, yeah.
Okay.
So this year, living on the farm, it would be easier to go home, meet up with the girls, and just walk out our back
Go out
door
there. Nice.
and take them out hunting rather than driving into town to do the urban.
Yep. Yeah, convenience is key too.
Convenience, and that's what it is. Although a couple of these deer I know in town would be easier to kill early on.
Yeah.
So
You gotta choose your cards and go that route. Your drive. You got a little bit of a drive. I don't. I mean, I'm pretty close. You have a drive unless you're hunting. You're close farm.
I have one little tiny farm about 10 minutes away from my house, but there's nothing
besides
there I wanna
turkeys.
shoot. There's a lot of turkeys there, but there should be a decent amount of does, stuff like that. But every other one of my farms is at least an hour away, at minimum. So it makes it tough. But
yeah, convenience is huge, especially, you know, the cell cams help out a lot. Like when you shot your deer last year and you knew he was there, you went in, it was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, and you killed him. Yeah, your big one. So, yeah, convenience is huge, and cell cams help. But so do you have a deer that you're trying to, just one deer in particular you're trying to go after, or you're waiting? Or
I've got several. I've actually probably have 3 or 4 on our farm. It's just a matter of which one, if any of them walk in front of the girls. Same thing between landowners and statewide tag. And I got several in town. Fortunate enough, those are the deer that get more mature and get bigger because you don't have 100 people hunting them. The difficult thing about this year in town, other than my time getting there, is all the stars aligned and people killed a minimum amount of does and they gave out a lot of tags. So in my urban areas this year, I looked at all the different urban areas that I hunt, and there are 10 urban buck tags in the areas that I'm at. And those, some of the bigger deer that I'm going after, there are 9 buck tags in the area. That could
going after him.
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
That's if they know that those deer.
Right.
There's one guy that's got 2 guys that have buck tags that know about those deer.
Yeah.
As far as I know, the other guys, they know about them, but they haven't seen them, and they're a lot closer to the properties that I can.
Yeah, and with being in town, like, is it revolving door? Are you getting different deer, like, just randomly coming through? Because there's so much, you know, there's the habitat-wise, there's...
It happens. So the way that usually you get deer that are there all year long. You see them all summer, all fall, into the late season, those deer are there. Then there's certain deer that they show up after they shed their velvet, and then they're there to stay. Then there's deer that you think were long gone that show up late season. They've just moved into a different area, whether it's something in their diets changed or they found more does in another area and they come back. There was a very large urban buck that was taken out of the herd last year.
Okay.
And I think I
remember that deer.
That's going to affect a lot of these other deer. Because that area is wide open now. So some of these bigger, not necessarily bigger, but more aggressive, mature bucks are going to try to move into there and kick him out. Or they don't have to kick him out, kick out all the other deer.
Yeah, when we did the urban thing, I think we did it for 2 years on private, on one piece.
Never saw doe.
Never saw doe. Only saw bucks, raccoons, fox, kid at the school shooting a gun, which we called in to dispatch. We had, you know, it was a weird vibe, like hunting this urban stuff, you know, doing the proficiency test and taking the classes and doing all that and getting ready and having this like, oh, I need to shoot 3 or 4 does. And then we wouldn't go see it. We'd go out 3 or 4 times, not see a doe. So we were like, well, what are we doing wrong? Well, probably not in the right area, or we kind of handcuffed ourselves to these little small areas. But do you like hunting urban, or is it kind of stressful with those other factors in there, opposed to when you're hunting private on, you know, the farm where you might hear a train at 2 a.m. when you're walking in, and, you know, it's a little bit more relaxed.
Yeah. Well, it depends on the spot that you're hunting. I mean, you're always going to hear trains because most of the good urban spots are by the rivers and the railroad tracks. So you always got the trains. Then you got the airport. Most of the good places are underneath the airport, so you hear those. You always hear the sirens. Depending on the part of the city, you start hearing gunshots. I started hunting the urban from a strict matter of convenience. And it was easy to get in the tree stand and actually hunt.
You're close.
It was close to home, and then I realized, you know, hey, there's some big deer that can be shot here. At the time, when the urban hunt first started, it was crazy. There were so many deer. The urban hunt's actually gone on since either late 90s or early 2000s, but it was run completely different in Des Moines. And it's changed and evolved a lot, but we've seen the deer numbers come down dramatically.
Oh, really?
They're not quite at optimal levels, but they're pretty good. And the whole point of it was to thin out the does because you're getting these old mature does that were dropping triplets every year.
Yep.
And you want to know how fast a deer population will go up? Let those mature does keep breeding.
Yep.
It's nuts. So it started with the purpose of targeting those mature does. And I think when Willie was still alive, I think they started tracking these deer with collars, and they were able to go around with a little locator and find where they were.
Figure out,
And they could get the numbers. And I think at one point in time he said, maybe take out $1 for every 5 does that are killed.
Okay.
That's how crazy out of proportion everything was. Well, they hadn't looked at it for 25 years, and I think they're looking at things now and realizing instead of, like 15 or 20 does per buck, now it's maybe 2 does per buck. It's that close.
Wow.
There were years where in some of my spots, I think there was probably like 3 or 4 bucks for every 1 doe.
I wish I had that ratio.
Yeah, that's
I will tell you, you think it would be nice, but you see the quality of the bucks go down.
really.
Yeah. Yep.
No competition. And any of the bucks could just hits the doe whenever.
Yeah, it's like whoever's closest.
Yep.
And you see these little 2-year-olds breeding these mature does. By mature, I'm going to say they're 2 or 3-year-old doe. But I've seen like the does that you can tell are old. What I experience in town is they don't mess with the younger deer. They wait for the big mature bucks. I can't explain it.
Gotcha.
It makes sense.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
it's all
does.
about survival,
Yeah.
and they want the best genes to get
Yeah.
go on. And
So with the kind of the urban stuff, I guess maybe why you and I got out of it is because there's so many more hoops to jump through. Like you shoot a doe, you have to call an officer. At least back then, you had to do all this stuff, extra stuff that, when you go statewide, you shoot a doe.
call it and go home.
Call it and go home. Go cut it up. Or you got to call it and wait. And like the lockers, the hush lockers, they're so few and far. I don't even know of
They
any.
don't have any in town
Yeah.
anymore.
So these deer, you have to find someone to donate to. Or, big freezer, you kill 5 or 6 does easy a year.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
I think I killed like 14 deer last
But
year.
and then as far as other legalities and laws, where we were hunting, we could only hunt on a Saturday and Sunday when school's not in session.
Yeah.
So that was kind of tough too. So there's other boundaries and stuff that you couldn't hunt during the week if school was going on. So it was kind of a weird vibe, but
Yeah, and I mean, I've had permission in 3 different. I've been able to do it in Des Moines, in Ames, and in Iowa City, and they were all different. All different. And I remember when I did it in Ames, they drew where you could go. There was like,
Here, you go here,
you
here,
go here, and it was the Frisbee golf course. And I hunted it one time, got way back. I'm like, man, I'm so far away. A couple college kids walking through. And I'm like, this is like 300 yards off the course. What are you doing? I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah,
And it
the
just,
headache and
I don't,
Yeah.
the amount of time that you just waste it. If you don't know what you're
Right.
doing, haven't done it for a while, or
Right.
you don't have private that butts
Yeah,
up against
but-
stuff.
you've had a good success rate. You've shot some really good deer. And
Yeah, that's there's been a lot of sacrifice on my family by my wife,
right.
doing that, because been gone a lot. A lot of success, but there's a lot of hardships with the urban hunt that it doesn't get talked about.
And headaches.
People think about, oh man, I see all these deer all over town. It's got to be easy. They're used to people.
Yep.
It's far from that.
You got joggers come running down. You got bicyclists. You got guys hunting mushrooms.
Well, then there's so many other things like poaching is a big problem in the city.
Really?
Not really. It's huge. I've personally, me and some other guys have helped the DNR bus guys poaching deer in town.
Wow.
Got them on video.
I'm sure
poaching deer.
kids shooting deer with BB guns or paintball guns.
I know it happens. I've never seen any kids do that, but
People
happens.
stealing your cameras, which it's
Yep.
that kind of correlates with the first time we actually met face to face. Jesse knew you, and you guys have been friends for years. And we'll kind of go back, and when was that? 2018.
18.
Yeah. So I bought, it was the winter, I believe. It was right before Christmas. I found this trail camera, and I wanted a white flash trail camera.
On Marketplace, right?
I found it on Facebook Marketplace. I'm like, oh, it's like $50-$60. I'm going to buy it. I messaged this guy. I'm like, hey, I'll buy it. Let's go. And I went to was it Jordan Creek Parkway or Mill Civic? One of the McDonald's over there, Mill Civic.
Yeah.
Met the guy there, bought the camera. I'm like, oh, sweet, I got a new camera. I went and put a card in it, threw it out back, got pictures of deer, and on the bottom of it, it was a cutty back, white flash.
Yeah.
What model was that? It was one of the white flash models.
Ambush or something like
Ambush.
that.
Attack.
It said Huffball. I'm like,
Say Huffball or say Outreach Outdoors?
It was
oh, no, it was Outreach Outdoors. Yeah. Outreach Outdoors. And Jesse, I sent him a picture. I'm like, this is sweet. Look at this white flash camera I bought from this guy. And Jesse's like, I think that's a stolen camera. Tim just, Tim just posted a video
like
of
literally the day before.
Yeah. You were going to hunt with your daughter on one of the urban hunts, and your camera was gone. So one thing led to another. We got in touch with a police officer or whatever. Got you your camera back.
Contacted Cuddy back first.
Yep.
To run the
serial number.
Yep. And they verified.
So you got your camera back, and it was one thing led to another. I think I don't know if they ever caught the guy or not, but he was.
Just based on
bag.
our own little investigating.
Yeah.
From what the police said.
Yeah.
That was completely sketch anyway.
Yeah. So he stole your $100 camera and sold it for $60, and it's like, oh. And then the cool thing was that was the first time I met you, and you're like, hey, I got these other white flashes. Oh, yeah. They were the Moultrie. Yeah, you gave me 2 Moultrie white flashes, which I used, and those got some cool pictures. They worked for a while. I think Moultrie had a problem with those models in particular, but they worked.
I got them cheap, man.
Yeah.
The strobes blow out of those.
Yeah, that was the first time we met, which is kind of ironic in how it all came together. It's a really small world in the actually hunting industry, and everybody
want the white flash so bad.
Oh,
I don't know.
Dude, show me a picture on your phone, and I'll show you a white flash picture, and you tell me.
A nighttime picture.
Nighttime white flash.
Nighttime white flash.
White flash daytime are usually junk.
Yeah. Right, they are too. Like
it's like almost a translucent look to the deer, and it's just
that reactor picture. Which, I don't know if you want to share that deer. If you do, great. Post that. That is probably I love the Stealth Cam reactor for daytime photos. Yeah. Unbelievable. I just got one on the Muddy Bale blind, but white flash at night. GSM, you got to make a white flash. Chris, we've talked to you multiple times, man. Come on, dude.
I would honestly probably drop a couple grand on white flash cameras. Like I love.
Have you used one?
I don't. I mean, I guess probably some of my old cameras.
Yeah, like the Wild View. Yep, like when they first came out, the Wild View. I think it was an SD card. But I remember walking into the tree stand, and those going off and like freaking me out. Like
they will blind you.
Yeah,
I used to have trail cameras that you had to turn in the 35
millimeter. Yeah. You had to wait, and then you get 500 pictures of does.
Yeah.
You remember the old 6-volt ones?
Oh yeah.
Those are big. They took good pictures.
They did. I about burned my house down with one of those.
Dude, come on.
Oh yeah. We used to
nighttime pictures are. But
here's the thing: those flash cameras. All right. They're okay if it's preseason, you've got a bait pile out for them, or they're okay.
Come on.
Does it scare the deer?
They're okay if they're getting a scrape and the deer's distracted or whatever. Just walking down a trail in front of a white flash. I've set up a camera with IR, put it on video right next to a white flash camera, and every single time I've done that, it startles a deer.
The white flash.
The white flash startles the deer. Yep. Sometimes they proceed around. Almost 9 times out of 10, they will stop and they will walk around it. You know, one of the biggest bucks I ever hunted, not score-wise, but giant 8-pointer. You guys know what deer I'm talking about. I've got video. I've got a white flash picture of that buck walking right into the camera. Just looks absolutely ginormous. Cedar hanging from his antlers, everything. But what people have never seen is the video, the IR video I have of it. It's sitting up there, and that buck walks in. It flashes. He stops, and he goes out 10 yards around that tree to go away from that camera. And that deer never walked down that trail.
Never came back.
Never came down. He stayed on the farm, but he never went in that area ever again.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot said to the sound or the flash. I think some of those old cameras, we've had this debate multiple times. It makes it click. It's like a shutter click.
Yeah.
And it's not, it's every brand of camera. Like,
Well, I think when our IR cameras, if it's only the last time it got a picture was during the daytime,
And
all of a
the-
sudden a deer walks through at night, you can hear
The lens
switch.
moves.
Yeah. And maybe that's what it is. It's the first time that transition time when the deer are moving, it's switching the lens or it's making that click. And I've got a video of it, of a deer walking in front of the camera, and it's on video mode, and you can hear that slight sound, and he freaks out. And
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have video
it's
of
just
like
technology. It'll
I
change.
mean, I have IR video of a buck walking in with his head down, and he comes up and sees the red, and he backpedals.
Yeah, and then I think that's something that's
glows.
said with the no glow, like the Deceptor. The deer have no idea it's there.
This wasn't a no glow. This was an old.
Yeah. But I'm saying the new no glows, those are BA
I think
cameras.
that's about as good as you're gonna get.
Yes.
For an IR.
Yep.
So let me ask you this. I have some really well-known people in the hunting community that are like so anti-cell camera. They're like, they spook deer. The deer know there's something they can tell.
I
the
100%
cellular
believe
waves.
it.
Believe it, but at the same time,
And
it's
every time they
benefited.
make the argument with me, they're like, well, all your deer are city deer. I'm like, all my deer are not city deer. Half my deer are
Right.
city deer. The other half are on my farm.
And we have no city deer, and I would say
The ones on my farm have never spooked from
There's
a
a-
cell camera ever.
there's an argument to be said, but I don't. I mean, I see it a couple times, but
Yeah, there's. I don't think there's enough consistency.
yeah,
to
it's
go like,
there's
some frequency that deer are picking
Right.
up.
That's what I was.
I think it's the sound, and we just the most recent information you have at your fingertips, where you can see that how that deer interacts. Where before it was pull a card, you're scrolling through looking for the best picture. You're not looking to see that interaction between the cell cam or the camera and the deer, but now you're seeing it, firsthand. You might even see it, tonight. You have a deer come up, look at your camera, and kind of back up. If you had that picture on just a SD card, you wouldn't even care. You would, you're looking for bucks.
Right.
So
Yeah, no, but I definitely think there's something there.
yeah, and
Because
the big
I've
antenna
also-
sticking up.
I've also talked to
looks
multiple
weird.
people about it, how they will have. Well, I've had deer. They be sitting in the stand and they'll walk out around a camera. Now, is that smell? Is it?
The antenna looking like an
No.
alien. I mean,
the electromagnetic force,
yeah.
I mean, is it putting off? I mean, it's obviously putting off something. Like you can test it, like EMF, to see if it's putting off.
Yeah, I don't
anything.
personally. I don't think the deer can. I think they visually see something that's not natural, doesn't look natural to them. They're like, "What the heck is this thing?" And there's some cameras that blend in better than others.
Right. Well, and the thing is, like with the radio, like the radio waves or the antenna, them sending everything, it's a circle. Like people don't
Yeah.
understand it. It's a
But
circle. It's
they're-
not like it's not Wi-Fi or like if you put your router in your basement or like if you put your router on your main level, you don't get internet in your
Yeah,
basement.
I don't agree with that because there's guys that hang cameras high. A lot of these guys are hanging them on public, and they're facing them down. They have no deer interaction with that whatsoever because the deer don't see the camera. I mean, they're still walking in what would be that circle,
Yeah.
so to say, but they're not seeing that visual. I think the visual camera seeing it themselves, if it's on a different mount or it doesn't blend into the tree or the natural surroundings, I think
Oh,
that's
for sure.
that's when it's like, whoa, what is this thing sticking out?
Especially the first time.
Yeah.
For sure.
Or they got your smell on there because I wouldn't.
Who knows?
Someone messed with one of my cameras where the big dog is, and it's up probably 7 foot high, kind of angling down. So it's kind of got that. He looked really big because there was a little screen tilt in the camera. I put up another camera to kind of conceal that to try to catch them, and I have deer coming in and sniffing the camera where you couldn't see on the regular camera, but you can see on the camera that's trying to catch them. You can see them sniffing it and freaking out like, whoa, what is that? They smell me. So that's pretty present that I'm a human odor on that camera itself. So
Yeah.
I completely believe though that deer have a sense that we don't know about. Because I mean, we've all hunted before where we have the wind in our favor.
Yep.
We weren't anywhere close to there leaving a scent or anything. There's no way to hear us because we haven't made. But they know. I don't know. Some people call it intuition. I think it's a sense that we.
I'm sure there's something there. But
yeah,
it
I mean,
was
if you
so
have someone
hard.
hunting you and God, what's gonna happen tonight? Like,
We have the senses sometimes, like we're like,
yeah,
I'm being
someone's
watched.
watching me. Yeah,
And
yeah.
we're being watched.
Our
yeah.
bodies put off a frequency, whether you
Right.
want to believe
Yeah.
it
Oh,
or
yeah.
not.
Yeah.
And
You can-
I've listened to that
Yeah.
Hex guy.
Yeah, the Hex.
Yeah, and he's
Might be a little crazy, but
yeah.
we
It's
won't.
not wrong.
There's something to it.
There probably is something to it.
Is there enough to
I don't know that the deer. I mean, you guys have as many deer on the wall that I do.
No,
Do
like I said, there's so many factors.
There might be
like,
something to it, but a lot
like-
of it's out left field picking dandelions.
It's just like anything else. It's you do what you can to try to put the odds in your favor,
Yeah.
and you just have to. It doesn't hurt to think about it and have it in the back of your head. I mean, I guess I don't write it completely off.
I think a lot of it's our scent too, and I think
for sure.
the wind and the variation of the wind, floating. If you throw a cottonwood seed up in there, milkweed seed,
Yeah,
and watch it go and watch it drift, like those thermals are weird, man.
Oh, yeah.
If
That's
it's
like the field
somewhat
edge that we were
calm,
talking about
yeah,
earlier.
it's just you got that one piece of molecule that's dusted off your neck or whatever. It floats right in their nose, like their senses are.
Well, that's the bad thing. Like hunting in the timber a little bit, you're like, yeah, I got the wind at my face, everything, and I've done that, throwing up the little milkweed seed, and it will blow out to that field edge.
Come right
and
back
it
to
won't
it.
make it to the field edge. And it'll
Hook left.
come
Yep.
back
Hook-
in.
hook
But
left.
That's why I'm.
my wind's completely wrong,
Right.
even though the scent checker says it's right.
That's why I'm a firm believer in one, and that we're not trying to pimp any product. Is the cedar cover scent? I love that stuff. Chansey's cedar cover scent.
He didn't have it out last year, did he?
Yeah, I did at Shields. I went and got two bottles,
Okay, I didn't see it.
and it was kind of late. I think they must have bottled it late, but it smells it is natural. There's like a scientific process where they somehow get the oils and they make it. You're supposed to keep it in the refrigerator, but pairing that with like a buck scent from Buck Balm, that stuff smells nasty, just like a deer. Put that in some scrapes around you, and they're smelling that instead of you. Our breath puts out so much nasty smell. It's insane.
I've done both. Like I used to have, I look at it as, and we can do a whole podcast on this, but like if a smoker, so like let's say there's no smoking in your house, and this is crazy thinking about this in 2023. Like when we grew up, everybody's parents smoked. It wasn't a big deal. But let's say there's no smoke in your house, nobody in your house smokes. Your neighbor comes over, has a beer at the kitchen counter, and leaves.
You
You
smell,
smell it. You still smell it.
Oh, yeah.
So you're.
Yeah, but the deer are way different. I mean,
Right.
they can smell so much.
Anything
Yeah.
you're putting in. So that my whole thing was I went through the stage of cover scent to try to cover something, but it wasn't in their natural environment to begin with, or to completely eliminate every scent you can with
That's tough, though.
ozone and scent-free wash.
I mean, with yours coming just your mouth alone.
Oh no!
all
like
the
I said,
smell.
I've done this.
Right.
Like,
so if
over
you
and
can
over.
help mask it, plus you can go through and those little things up there, the
ozone
wild game
generators.
ozone things. I had those hanging up. I had I had 12 deer downwind of me when I shot Carlos.
Right.
That I had everything going against me, hunting the wrong wind. I shot him hunting the wrong wind, but I had that scent. I had the puffer shit, the buck stuff.
Oh yeah.
And then I had cover scent. Yeah, I smelled like a deer. Like if you can not smell like a human, if you can mask you can buy gum, you can do the deodorant, you can shower, and I shower every time.
Yeah,
so if you can do everything to
foam
help
to-
put odds in your favor.
I mean, and I started doing that, especially early season when it's
Yep.
hot. Like I have HS has a foam, and I put one
Yep.
of the bottles, and I just.
And then
hold
when
my
the deer's
hair.
coming in, don't breathe out of your mouth. Like, I don't know, I think it was Bill Winky or maybe it was Mark. Breathe out of your nose. All that, you have, so much scent in your mouth that.
Whatever you were eating, even your diet changes your odor.
Oh,
like
for
your
sure.
Little physical
Yep.
odor.
So if
is
you can
changed by
have,
your diet.
that gum tastes horrible. I don't know who sells it, but
I think if
if
you
that'll
get-
help.
Under specialties.
Or sprays,
gum.
No, it was Gummaflage.
Camouflage.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Gummaflage.
Or
but,
bush latte flash.
But like they have, a lot of these have medical or dental, like just no scent. Like you can buy non-scented
Yep.
detergent. You can buy
You
non-scented.
can buy stuff for your feet.
Oh, yeah.
Non-scented antiperspirant, which I started doing that late season. If anybody is not doing that, you need to do it.
Deodorant
Late season when
underneath
your feet don't, like, how they sweat
Yeah.
and then they
100%.
freeze. If you put that on your feet, I was even putting antiperspirant that smelled like I didn't care. The late season,
Old Spice.
Your feet don't
yeah,
get wet.
yeah, they don't get moist.
Fire,
Yep.
so they can't get.
It
wet,
works.
So they don't get cold.
I promise you.
100%.
I wash all my clothes in free and clear all year long.
Really?
And non-scented. I just don't like smelling like Tide day in and day out.
I wash it about one time, then I do the dry bag.
And I don't even buy the hunting brand stuff for my hunting clothes anymore. I wash it in free and clear detergent, because it has no scent, It's not
That's
hard
what
on
I wash
clothes.
like everything in.
And
Right.
it's like anything to get a little bit of an advantage
Yep.
because you need it.
Yep.
And I don't know if you guys have heard this. I don't mean to interrupt you, Tim, but the eye contact thing.
Not watching the deer.
Do not
No, like-
Yeah.
close your eyes
Yeah.
or just
Yeah. It's just like a
eye
predator.
contact with their eyeballs.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard a lot of guys
I know.
say,
I look
focus
down.
on their ear or squint or something like that, and I'm like,
I agree with you.
It's
Jesse-
so
when
dumb.
he
He's
was-
laughing.
when he was
No,
coming in-
because I know that I've sat in the tree and went,
Yeah.
every time.
He came in from like
okay, so
200.
I'm not crazy.
If I
Right.
can't see you, you can't see me.
He came in from 200 yards away down the bean field, and I'm sitting there the entire time, and he's walking right at me, straight downwind, and I'm looking like my peripherals. I'm like, all right, which way is he going to go? And I'm not looking at his eyes, and so I agree on that 100%.
Okay.
even if it's just your own mental state.
It is, yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. As soon as he went one way, I'm like, all right, dead.
Yeah.
So-
Yep, try not to. The last time I look at him is
Yep. Yeah, when you make eye contact, just like any predator, like you think a rabbit's down there, and
They
then
know
all of a
it.
sudden they make eye contact with a hawk that's up here going to eat them. They dart, or a
Yep.
pheasant.
Yep, they know what's going on. They're
So
waiting for it.
I agree with it. It's a predator-prey relationship. You're the predator; they're the prey.
Even early season, people think I'm crazy, and they're like, "Why are you wearing a neck gaiter out there and it's 70 degrees?" It's because I cover my mouth with that and I breathe through my nose the entire time.
And the gnats,
And the gnats.
the ornosiums.
That too.
Yeah,
Man,
yeah, those are bad.
it's gonna be bad this year. It's so wet. There's
Yeah.
gonna be so many bugs early season.
Yeah,
Thermacell's going to be back in the pack. Huh?
I finally
You're using
bought
those?
one. Yeah,
I have.
do you use the dirt smell one, the cartridge?
God, I don't know. It's been so long.
It smells so nice. I don't know that if the deer smell it great, like I use it. I'd rather not be doing this the entire time with no
Right.
seams or gnats on me.
Yep, I have 2 of them. I bought another one for turkey hunt in
Nice.
Wisconsin this spring,
Nice.
but I'm going to need it in a couple weeks.
You're going to Kentucky.
Yeah.
You're going to Kentucky.
Start
You're
the
doing
second-
you
start
do
the
the urban
second.
hunt.
Of September.
You're probably September. Or the girl
I'm going to youth hunt with William.
William's going to go.
He's 12-year-old, so
Nice.
we're trying
September
to get him a buck.
16th. And I'm going to take Jace out, I think. So,
I should probably go down to Missouri and see if all my stuff's still there.
yeah, you should. Yeah.
At least reactivate a couple cameras.
You're going to talk to the lady and get permission again.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go there this year. I got too many irons in the fire. So,
Yeah, I won't buy a tag unless I need to.
Yeah.
But who knows? I mean, that area is good.
it is. But
That little piece isn't that great, but
the
that
deer
area
yeah. So,
looks great.
we've talked about your hit list. Hopefully, y'all have a good fall. Your hit list now, and then we'll do mine.
We should save the best for last.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll do mine. So I got a pretty large deer that showed up. I had a guy that turned off my camera where I got this pictures of this nice deer.
That's a telltale sign right there, right?
Was it you?
You know who?
No, I have no idea who it
Someone
was.
else has seen the deer. And he's
So,
like,
so
"Oh."
someone else seen it, right? And it's a weird spot. Like I don't know why. And the thing is, not to be cocky, but I know more what this deer does than they do. I guarantee it because I these other properties. But he's a solid deer. I think he's 5 this year. 4, he was when he's in velvet. He looked like he was 190s. I think he was probably about 160 last year, and he'll be above that. And then a couple other spots. I got a couple other really nice deer. I got one that'll show up probably the next month or so. He's a mainframe 10. I showed you the sheds here a little bit. There's that one big 5-point side that's real tall.
TD?
No. He hasn't shown up yet. But this is that 10-pointer on the River Bandit farm. That he was all over. I think he was probably 4 last year. But I got another deer that looks just like him on camera on a different farm, like 20 miles away. The one I jumped the other day when I put up a camera.
Okay.
Nice deer. We'll see how he finishes off. He was on my personal property, but that's about it. And I seen a real big one. We'll see if he shows back up. I think I might have scared him off, but got a few nice bucks to chase down the road here. Jace is hopefully going to shoot 140-inch deer. So I got permission on that piece again with another guy. So there's some really, really good deer. My in-laws has a couple just freaky deer that always always has a half rack on it that needs shot. So got Jace throwing rocks at the garage. But
Right.
so yeah, I got some good deer to chase, and we'll see. It looks exciting this fall. I got landowners and then 2 statewides. Jace got a tag. Jen will probably do late muzzleloader sitting in the blind. So
Nice.
we have some options anyway. But you have options,
Nothing yet,
but you have.
right. The camera on me died, so that's
Oh, it's dying now.
the card's full. But so I'll make it quick. I don't have any deer on my cameras. The neighbor's been generous and he's sent me some stuff. But I know there's good deer in the area. There was good deer that lived, but the only thing I have right now is a humongous bearded turkey, like awkwardly long beard. I mean, this probably 13, 14 inches. It's crazy. I'll post pictures on it and stuff like that. But yeah, that's all I got. And I know deer will show up. It's not a big deal, but it's aggravating to not be able to open up your app in the morning and
See a good deer.
see a
One out of
buck.
4 days,
I've,
yeah.
I've had maybe
I've been
three,
there.
I've had maybe 3 rack deer on camera in the last 2 weeks.
They'll show up.
They will.
You know they're there.
They will, and it's just annoying. So well,
So we need a bigger car next time.
right?
Is anybody going early muzzleloader?
To be determined. Are you?
Never have, because I guess they always sell out before I figure out if I'm going to do it or not.
If I don't do it, I have a gun from Hollis that you can use, a smokeless. And it's like cheating.
Maybe.
Is it not like cheating? It's
If you
the
know the
smokeless.
if you know the range of the deer and you have your drop chart, the deer's dead out to 700 yards.
Well, that's a funny number you just talked about, because
That's how he can sit at the.
I could sit at the
fence.
driveway
Yeah.
and cover the whole bean
Yeah.
field.
Yeah.
Pop up a chair and
Yep. If you can shoot halfway at all, the gun will do it. It's all up what you
it's
can do.
pretty insane. And yeah, it's
I have a break action. It'll do 300 to 400, no problem. And Greg's will double mine.
Yeah, that's why I have this encore.
so deal if you go.
Okay, sounds good.
Might come film you. Maybe. Depends if I got any deer on camera. That wraps it up. 6:45. Thanks for joining us. Good luck this fall. Thanks for letting us use you. Josh as your hero.